Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Hey there. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Is it okay if I talk a little bit about who I am and where I come from? All right, I came from my mom. My name's Aaron. Let's get into this. So I grew up in Longmont, Colorado. My dad is Ken Huey. Not that Ken Huey, no relation, but I've known Ken for a while. And in fact, many, many years ago, Ken and my dad spoke because they have the same name. My dad was the administrator of Longmont United Hospital. I grew up struggling with addiction myself, dealing with abandonment, bullied, sexually assaulted when I was 18. And it spun pretty far out of control there. Been sober now 21 years, plus a lot of months. And 10 years ago, my wife and I began our work in the treatment world in Boulder, out of our home. And a year and a half later, the state knocked on our door with a cease and desist saying, you need to have a license. And we were like, what? And so we began our work with the state then and have been a licensed facility ever since. We're in Estes Park, Colorado. So this is the information about us up in Estes Park. We are adolescent, 12 to 17. We're dual diagnosis, mental health primary. We have all the alphabet therapies, as I'm sure you know and do as well. And that's what I want to get into, is how to amplify the therapeutic experience by connecting with the client, the spouse, the employer, the employee, anybody in the world in a deeper level. Primarily by embracing the philosophy of, it's not about being better, it's about giving up the soul to be different from who you are. And that was the part that always intrigued me, and even going through a midlife crisis, as is evidenced by my bright red Ford F-150. It was what I struggled with last year because I had always identified as the kid whose father abandoned him, and the kid who was bullied, and the kid who was sexually assaulted, and then the young man who had a business partner that stole all the contracts. And these things set up an identity for me that allowed me to be successful because I was looking to get back at the world that had hurt me, which you'll see is very much like one of the Archetypes MOs. But when all those things had been accomplished, who was I? What if we were identifying with the thing that we had been diagnosed with, or identifying with that one time that teacher said, you're not that good of a singer. It's okay, just mouth the words. And for the rest of your life you avoid it, but maybe somewhere in there. So how do we get past the social construct and get into that place where we come with less of an ego as an adult to really begin to express who we are without... There's a way to do this with children. There's a way to get in very, very quickly, and it's something that they enjoy experiencing. And I hope that you'll find, as I take this next hour to prove to you that I am much smarter than Carl Jung, that you will see that this is a fun thing to do amongst yourselves, your adult relationships, your relationships with your kids, your colleagues, and your clients. So this is what happened. Many years ago, I worked for a company in Boulder called Renaissance Adventures, and it's essentially a live-action Dungeons & Dragons game. The kids have foam weapons and foam swords and battle axes and daggers, and as the adult who's responsible for the kids, you're walking around this park and you are telling them an interactive story. Okay, you guys are walking down, it's a dark cave and all the walls are really roughly carved out, and then all of a sudden the walls are super smooth, like almost shiny. And up on the left, you see two doors. They're both made of wood. And on the right, you see one door made of metal. What do you guys do? Now, as a quest leader, you have like 6 kids that you're working with. And the kids then begin to act out what they do. And depending on their character, right? They're a warrior, they're a wizard, they're a jester, they're a bard, they're a healer. They act within the constraints of their character's powers and abilities and the equipment they have. And so as a quest leader, you have these little cards that tell you what they have, what they're carrying in their backpacks. One of the kids will say, I go listen to the door. And I say, okay, rock, paper, scissors. Okay, you hear, and they're speaking Orcish in there. I don't know Orc. One of the other kids goes, I know Orc. It's one of my languages. So you check the card, sure enough, and they are listening. You hear the Orc say, I saw them. They're coming down the hall. And the guy turns around and says, they know we're here. So the kids all pull out their foam weapons. The door breaks open. Out run 3 orcs. And we all drop our backpacks. and we get into a big foam sword battle. Kids would learn to read at this camp reading the rule book. They love this game. So we have this experience this one time where I have a young child where every time the swords come out, he throws his at the ground and runs into the trees. Now, when you're responsible for 6 kids and you're in the foothills of Boulder and one of them's running away, you've got a choice to make. You choose the one over the many or the many over the one. Because now these kids aren't playing their game, and they're getting more and more angry, and the bullying and the words are starting, and this kid, something's going on. None of us were therapists. We were just camp counselors. At this time, I was one of the trainers for the company, so myself and one of the quest leaders named Ian, who I'm still friends with, he and I were going through the kid's character card after camp, because it got bad. And this kid was signed up for the entire summer with us, and this was like week 3. What are we going to do with this kid? So we were sitting down, we're brainstorming. Do we bring in an extra person? We actually to the parents on poll. What are we going to do? And I look at this kid's character card. I've been a fan of comic books and Dungeons and Dragons. I am the consummate geek with these things. And I remember talking one time to a guy named Jonathan Goldman, who's a sound healer. And I was making fun of the WWF because his kid was collecting all of the action figures for WWF. And he goes, Aaron, they're just live action comic books. And I got it, right? I got that there was a good and a bad, and they were picking sides, and they were in costumes, and they all had gigantic muscles and no body fat, and made us all feel bad about ourselves. But they were solving problems. So we couldn't figure out how to help this kid solve these problems that he had signed up to camp to solve. So I'm looking at his character card, and I notice that his class, what he is saying he is a mystic seer healer. Now, mystic seers are part of a wizard archetype that can see the past and can see the future. And that's their power. So if they use their power, they're able to tell you what is going to happen based on the choice you make. And as a healer, well, their job is to just heal. Someone gets knocked out by the ogre, they can say, bye, and you're back in the game. All of the groups would come together, and there would be like 90 kids in the park in this massive foam battle. It was chaos. This boy was fetal position hyperventilating. We don't know what to do. So here Ian and I are trying to figure this out, and I'm looking at his little character card, and I go, Mystic Seer Healer. Well, no wonder he doesn't want to fight. He's a Mystic Seer. He knows the future of violence, and he's a healer. He's just filled with love. And everybody's, yeah, I mean, of course, but what are we going to do? And I'm staring at it, and that's my lightning bolt moment, where he's not pretending. We are. We're the adults, and we're pretending. He's trying to communicate to us who he is and why he hurts. And I got it. I looked at this kid, and I was like, he's a Mystic Seer Healer. He's a Mystic Seer Healer. And I'm trying to treat him like a warrior. So the next day, lunchtime comes. And I walk up to the kid, and all the kids had finished eating. They're on separate sides of the park, and they're ready to come together in this mass battle. And you could see, now, looking back with the training I have, he's in full trigger mode. Right? He's in those 35 steps before he hits the ground. And I can see him, and I walk up to him, and I say, did you know healers don't have a limit to their power? Because their power comes from love. And that love comes from someplace greater than any of us really understand. And you know healers don't have to choose a side. You don't have to pick good and evil. You can just love and heal anybody you want. And he's just looking at me and he's listening. And I walk away and I say to the rest of the 90 kids, this kid is the healer for the entire battle. He has unlimited power. He's not on anybody's side. Does everybody understand? The kid's like, yes, I get it. Let me fight. And so we say go. The 90 kids come together in this chaotic Braveheart foam battle. And this kid who was fetal the day before is through like this. And kids are getting wounded and they're slapping his hand and walking back and fighting. And I was like, he's realized. We didn't try to bring him to us. We went to him. We actualized him. He was. And we sat enough to actually let him tell us. So that began me on this path of really trying to understand archetypes and archetypal behavior. Now, this is where I start to diverge from Jung a little bit. For me, there are 4 on your desk or a little worksheet with a big blue diamond. That's what this is for. I'm going to quickly draw this diamond, and we're going to start filling in how the archetypes set themselves up. I need to whoops, oh, that is a terrible diamond. Okay. I started setting up kids camps around the specific archetypes. Warrior camp still runs today. I began this in 2004. It's out in Texas now, run by my very, very dear friend Duberly Mezuelos and his wife, who we call Goddess. Goddess and Duberly run this camp, and every year the camp grows. And that's very much like the warrior archetype. So in the first middle box, that's where we write warrior. The warrior is one of the archetypes, and these kids are willing to do anything and try anything and be pushed harder than other kids are willing to be pushed. For example, if you go online and to YouTube and write in youngest glass walk viral video, you will see myself and a 7-year-old kid walking barefoot on broken glass. The child is, not me. And I'm holding his hand. So we push kids to that level, and they take it and say, what's next? So that's just the warrior archetype. We'll get into that. Then the next camp I set up was the jester. The jesters, they're therapy resistant. And this is something, once you start to understand the jester, you understand why. But these are the kids who come into your program, and they don't do it because it's not fun. And we try to complicate it. Jester is on the last square, middle box. That's our jester. So I set up a jester camp, and 25 kids sign up for the first one. Those are good numbers for the first time you ever launch anything. It's bantam craziness. Well, the first day I'm like, what do you guys want to do for camp? And they're like, what do you mean? What are we doing? I was like, whatever you want to do. And they're like, whatever? I was like, yeah. And the ideas they had when we sat back and were really present with them, incredible. The graduation ceremony was a pie in the face. So we went out, brought the equipment, every kid took a pie in the face. It was amazing. They put in a 2-hour live skit show for the parents that we filmed that was improv, had everybody rolling on the ground. But you can only do that when you're very, very present with the world, with yourself, with life. And it's very hard for us as clinicians to be really present. We'll get into that more. I set up Bard Camp. And I know half of you just went, what's a bard? Singer, songwriter, dancer, actor, poet, director, editor. These are the creative, emotional souls. They think with their belly. They don't talk in thought, and they don't talk in action. They talk in feeling. How was school today? Oh, I was really happy because the teacher brought in her guitar and she sang us a song. It was awesome. But then it was so sad at recess because my friend was playing with someone else. And everything is communicated to you through an emotional experience. Now, I think you might be starting to get that you could do very different clinical work depending on what the child is communicating to you. One of them is going to respond to dream therapy. The other will not. So that's our bard. That's next to the warrior. Then we have our wizards, the highly, highly intellectual people, very smart. The cell phone you have, built by wizard. The lawyer they hired, that's a wizard. The doctor you went to, that's a wizard. Very intelligent people who are constantly looking for the flaw so that they can fix it. Everything they see the flaw first. Everything. And it's so frustrating when you're not the wizard archetype to hear them constantly express through negativity of what's not working. It's really hard. Imagine what it's like for them to look in the mirror when all they see is the flaw and want to fix it. They are on the perfectionist path, these wizards. So those are our 4 prime archetypes. The warrior, the wizard, the jester, and the bard. Now I want to say that these are neutral, which means there's a little bit of good and a little bit of bad. All right, there's the sacred and the profane. That's what we have on the side here, the sacred and the profane. The profane is where we start to meet our kids, but understand, truly profane behavior is true shadow behavior. All right, I'm going to go through the profane archetypes very quickly, but we will not delve into them today because this is more of the advanced, okay? For the warrior, it's the barbarian. This is the one who hates the world because the world hates them. They want to burn the world because they got burnt by it. They want to destroy the world because their world has been destroyed. And they focus on that negative power. For the wizard, it's the necromancer. The necromancer is what you would generally understand archetypally as the black magician, the evil wizard. The one who's truly, truly focused on power through pain. Very manipulative. Uses the dead to gain power. Now, how that translates forward is that these are the people who can't, not won't, because there's a difference between capability and willingness. Can't let the past die. They drive power from it. They get power from what happened to them. Right? This is where the identity of the trauma has consumed them and it eats them alive. For the that was the wizard. Sorry, I put it in the wrong place. For the bard, it's the vampire. Now, this is a fun one to talk about because we all have images of the vampire that each one of them symbolically translates forward into our time. You have all experienced the psychic vampire, but true vampires, one of them can take an entire facility down, staff and all, trained or untrained. They're that good. One vampire in a school can drown the entire school in their energy. It's much more than negative gossip going on. It's one person who gathers everyone as their minion, and they act in the shadows. You don't actually know where it's coming from. The whole living in the dark and being in the coffin and the death and the pale face and the blood, these are all symbolic. Blood is life force energy. They feed on that. They feed on the energy of negativity. The pale face, not being out in the sun, well, they don't do anything in the light. It's all very shadowy behavior. Like every symbol translates. And the jester is the puer. That is the eternal youth, Peter Pan. The child who will not grow up. For the feminine, it's puella. It is the sleeping beauty, the girl who will not wake up. Now, the deeper teachings that we do of this, not only with adults and clinicians, the deeper teachings is we talk about the rite of passage process and what happens when a child does not go through a rite of passage process. They remain the eternal youth, and they create a rite of passage for themselves. It's generally around drugs, sex, and violence, which locks the brain, as we all know as clinicians, into its adolescence. So we have to create a rite of passage experience. Okay? Now the sacred version of all these, very quickly, is the knight. Because this is a warrior who now has a code that they will live and die by, and it's generally around helping the innocent, doing God's work, something much larger than the warrior themselves. When we talk about warriors and athletes and people who are very competitive, they're very self-centered. Their life, look, I'll be honest, folks, like I'm still waiting for my parade. Like when are you going to notify me that the Aaron parade is going down Main Street? And that's the warrior's life. It's like, I'm here to do something great, and you're here to celebrate me for that. And it seems very arrogant, but these warriors, these are the teachers and the nurses and the firefighters and the police officers, people who have decided that their life belongs to you, and they're willing to die for it. These are the people who get in rubber rafts and sail in front of whaling ships. And everybody in the family is like, oh my God, I haven't heard from them in 3 months. And they come back and it's like, yeah, we saved 12 whales. And you're like, you could have been killed. And they're okay with that because their life has purpose. And without purpose, there's no passion. Without passion, there's no meaning. So the knight has taken that to a whole nother level. They live by a code. The samurai lived by the hagakure. The warriors had their code. Knights have the chivalric code. Like it's their way. For the bard, it's the druid. The druid was a priestly class of Western history. They were the white shaman. That's the only way to describe it. Vikings had a version. The Celts had a version. They were a priestly class, but they were also a political class. They advised the kings and the chieftains and the queens, and they did it through song. They did it through imagery. They didn't write things down. The only ones who actually did were the Irish Druids. And the person who burned their work was St. Patrick. That's the chasing the snakes out of Ireland thing, was destroying the Druids' work. So symbolically, the Druid is the class of song and music and poetry and storytelling that teaches us the real deeper meanings of God, of politics, of life, of medicine, all of it. For the wizard, it's the sorcerer. Now we're taking Carlos Castaneda's definition of sorcery, one who is connected to source. While the wizard loves to negotiate with you, oh my God, and if you've got someone in your life, you can't say anything without it turning into a negotiation for something more. And it feels like manipulation, but as clinicians, manipulation and crisis are the same thing. We only manipulate a crisis environment. Negotiation is where we try to win out of the environment. Wizards are always looking for the master path. They're always looking for the win. They're competitive in that way. The sorcerer isn't, because the sorcerer understands source. These are the physicists studying the God particle. This is the big, big brain stuff that gets how the universe works. And the jester is the shaman. And for this one, we can use the symbology of the South, Central, and North American regional shaman, the medicine man, the medicine woman, who lives at one with the earth, is not separate from it. In fact, to call her, oh, she's at one with the earth, means you can only see something as separate from the earth. They've melded into the earth beyond, I'm one with the earth. They don't need to say that. They just are with the earth. The medicine for the whole tribe, how they connect to the tribe, but they live on the outskirts of the tribe. Up above, as we continue the sacred path up, we have the king and the queen. This is our masculine and feminine nature and the balance and blend therein. We all have all, we all are both, and you balancing your masculine feminine energy to your joy and expression of love is your work here. And when we say king and queen, this is the archetypal imagery of how we run our realms. We all move into the king and queen phase as we get to about 38 years old, where we have a business, and we have kids, and we have a home, and we have employees, we have a house, we have multiple houses, and you run your realm. You have subjects that answer to you, and you have to answer to them, and you must provide, and it's an entire kingdom or a queendom to run. And understand that while there are masculine and feminine energies in all of this, it is not about male, female, it is about masculine and feminine, which are the two primal archetypal energies. Our mixing and blending of them is our own work for our own balance in life. Me being able to be up here and communicate to you and just enjoy the crap out of this moment is my feminine side. This is a creative, connective, communicative experience. If I was a man, I'd be hitting a PowerPoint slide and you would have the same slides in front of you and you wouldn't have to take any notes and you would all be falling asleep. That's the masculine form of connection. Let me give you the information, and we're done. But we want to expand this. Up top, of course, is our healer. When we talk about healers, we are talking about maybe there have been 10 in our time period, maybe. We're talking about the Dalai Lama and the Christ consciousness itself being a healing energy. We're talking about Mother Teresa. We're talking about healers who are truly in an egoless state. And they are a conduit of love from something greater than anything we comprehend to you. Going down the path, we have, of course, our dictator and our maleficent. This is the negative form of control. This is the iron glove. This is the my way or the highway. This is not healthy management of life. It's fear-based and it's power-based. And at the bottom, we have the demon. These are the Ted Bundys. These are the Hitlers, the Pol Pots. These are the ones who have taken the negative, energetic experience of life and they're trying to rule the world with it. What I want to do now is take a quick chunk of questions, and then we are going to begin to split the behaviors up into 4 quadrants so that we can see them in comparison to each other. So far, based on what I've said, any questions? I know there's one that generally floats around about what if I have more than one? You have them all, but you use the energy of one primarily to survive your social construct. For example, I was a warrior jester raised by 2 wizards to be a bard. Now let me break that down. I was that rambunctious, couldn't pay attention, diagnosed with ADHD boy who only just wanted to have fun. And both my parents were extremely intelligent. Once I got up on stage, 2nd grade, I got my first standing ovation in 2nd grade playing one of the reindeer. And my parents were like, oh, he's an actor. And so they kept me in acting and on stage, and I found a lot of success and acceptance and connection there. So that made sense to them. But truthfully, I'm a warrior and have been and teach it all over the world and run a martial arts school and. But that's not something that those wizards could understand. So they put me into something I can't. But that makes sense. Remember, makes sense to the wizard. And they weren't wrong. Wizards very rarely are, which is why they're so frustrating as people. Because they will argue about things. That my son, who is a wizard with a side of wizard and an extra helping of wizard and wizard for dessert. He broke his arm skateboarding at the beginning of the summer, came back from the doctor and was so angry that she said he was going to be in the cast for 8 weeks. And he was angry, not because he broke his arm, not because of the 8 weeks, but because she was wrong, it's only 6 weeks. And I was like, oh, how do you know that? With your 8th grade biology class? And he was like, no. And he showed me. And he called the doctor and showed her. And she changed her answer. And I was like, and that's how smart they are. That's how they do life. They see the answer. These are the people that can answer the math problem without showing their work. And they fail it because the teacher wants to see the work. And they go, that doesn't make sense. I got the right answer. Well, the teacher wants to know how you got the right answer. Why does it matter how I got the right answer? I got the right answer. I don't know the answer to that. And that's how smart they are. So they will argue with anything, and a lot of times they're right. And I'm live streaming, so I want to make sure if my wife's watching, you're right. Okay. So you are all of them. Your job as king and queen is to learn which one to use when. Because you are 1, maybe 2, primarily. Just based on the very little that I've said. How many think you're the warrior archetype? Show of hands. The wizards? I know some of you think you're something. Wizard? How about the bards? Okay, we'll talk about bards and therapy in a minute. Any jesters in here? I haven't explained too much. Okay, jesters. Duke in the back. That makes sense to me, Duke, based on the emails I get from you. And what you're doing is it's so fun to watch you be passionate about what you're doing. Keep it fun, otherwise you're going to walk away from it, okay? All right, so I set on inside your packet, there are 2 more pages. One has a quadrant and one has the 4 pictures of the archetypes that were drawn. Those pictures, everything in them is a symbol. The artist, Harper Stone, who was one of the first kids at my first warrior camp, he was also very much a bard druid. He painted those. For 3 years, we went back and forth on every single item in those pictures. In our more advanced class, we break the pictures completely down. But there's also 3 layers of symbolism in the pictures. Just so that we get clear, an archetype is a symbol that we can all agree on even if we've never met. For example, what does a warrior have in his hand? The only time sword changes to spear is when you're in Africa, because that's their cultural experience of it. But they all have weapons. What's in the warrior's other hand? Right, because they protect themselves and others. What color is the wizard's robe? Red's not one I've heard before. That's interesting. So if you Google it, there's two prime colors that come up, purple and blue. Purple and blue. Sometimes very little bit of green. Not heard red before. I'm curious. Okay? The wizard's hat. Tell me the shape. Okay. The conical shape is an archetypal symbol. Who else wore the conical hats? Yeah, who else? Yeah, why? Because there's a wizard. Witches? This conical shape was once believed that it spiraled intellectual energy and wisdom into the head, which is why that's why we made the dunce cap the same thing, because we thought it made people smarter. It was spiritual energy being channeled into the brain. The point on the hat channels energy into the head. How many points on the hat does a jester have? See, so the jester actually has more connection to spiritual side. They just kind of bored by the conversation. Don't want to have it with you. All right, let's talk about the quadrant now. So these are symbols that we can all agree on even if we've never met. Bards up top, wizards up right, warriors down left, jesters down right. We're going to start separating out behaviors and energetic centers. Let's start with that one. So for the bard, I already said, you're going to want to write small. I'll write a little big so you can see it. It's in their belly. They suffer stomach aches a lot, but they feel and think in their belly. They know how, they need to learn how to trust their gut. But emotions, this is the emotional center, because this is the center of energy. This is the Dantian. This is where chi, this is where ki lives. That's why Buddha has a big belly. He's not emotionless, he laughs. And it's a big belly laugh. Right? Oh, that's like a punch to the so the experience. The wizards, it's the head. They are very thoughtful. Not necessarily about other people, but definitely thoughtful. In fact, they suffer from analysis to paralysis. That's how thoughtful they are. It's hard for them to make a decision and take action. But when they do, it's usually right action, based on what they think is true. If you look at the wizard picture on your book in the packet real quick, the floor is black and white. The black and white tiles represent dots. The clarity of is massive, and that's why sometimes, frankly, they look bipolar. They will swing from feeling so smart and right to, I hate myself, I'm so stupid. Is because the moment they see the perfection of it, they see the flaw and a new picture emerges. They think in pictures. The jester, they think with hands and feet. If you know a jester, they love one of the following things: hiking, climbing, whitewater rafting, skiing, or snowboarding. Because these things have an essence of risk to them. Look at the jester picture real quick. The castle represents the self, the body. Look at where the jester's dancing. On the castle wall, the people are horrified. They're sickened by this behavior. Actually, look at the jester's foot. It's very firmly rooted. They are not off balance. Here's where the symbolism goes. That jester picture, he is standing, she is standing in the X. In the Viking runes, that's Gibo, which means the gift. Jesters possess the gift. It's the medicine that they possess. They make you forget, and they bring you to the present. Look at the little child standing in the exact same posture, saying, that's me. That's what I want. The warrior thinks with the heart. It's a different kind of right and wrong, because for the wizard, they will believe what they perceive as true. The warrior will believe what they perceive as right. And look, as we're talking about how this world right now has clashing warriors running countries, let's make clear we understand, being in the clinical world, nobody thinks they're the bad guy. Nobody thinks they're on the bad team. Everybody thinks they're right. That's what causes war. Wizards, that's why they're completely sickened by the concept of war. Because they already thought of the answer and told someone and no one's listening. Okay? So, we've got the belly, the head, the heart, and the hands and feet. Archetypally, the jester represents water. In pictures, dreams, water is emotion. Wizard is air. Jester is earth. Warrior is fire. I'll do this one next because this will branch into others. If you were to hand a warrior a weapon, a gun, they will fire, aim, fire, aim, fire. And if you look at the warrior's picture, and it might be too small, but there's actually 9 arrows that the warrior has shot. 3 of them are in the target, only one's in the bullseye. They figured it out as they went. So that's the fire first. If you tell a warrior to do something, they'll do it. May not be right. They may have to come and apologize afterwards for everything that they bulldozed. My perfect example is many years back, I said, I'm a vegetarian to my wife. And she was like, so that means I cook one meal for me and the kids and another for you? And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's the warrior right there. I'm not going to eat animals. That's it. I'm done. And there's no regard for how it affects everybody else because you've just decided what's right. I didn't compromise, but I also didn't think. So I owed people an apology. And the warrior is willing to apologize. So the warrior is the fire, aim, fire. Oh, sorry. Fire, aim, fire. The wizard is aim, 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 aim. But trust that when they fire, when they finally do pull the trigger on that project, it's done. It's done well. It's done right. That's why those things with the wizards take so long. They're not soldiers. They're combat engineers. And there's a big difference. The jester, if you hand them a gun, they take it and they go, yeah, that was so cool. You're like, those bullets have to come down. And they're like, oh my God, let's get out of here. And they're so happy because they've just created an experience where everybody is so present in the moment. That's all they want is presence, being. Just be, right? These are the people you're like, oh, the class clown, and then they moved to Costa Rica. They were just couch surfing for a while, and they went out to LA. They started to grow up, and then they got arrested, and now they open an orphanage in India. And you're like, well, where are they now? They're like, I don't know, living in their car. And they're fine. We're the ones who have a problem with all of that. But they're fine. They're perfectly happy. So they're the fire, 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 fire. They just want to be so experiencing the now, man. And how spiritual is that? When you drive and you see someone with a bumper sticker that says it's all good, and you're like, tell a woman in Darfur, it's all good. It's not all good. We're all one. No, I am not one with those MFers in government. No, but the jester does really feel that. It's all going to work out, man. What do you mean? We're being chased by the cops. Just be chill. But that's how they live. They're so frustrating, and it's why they are treatment resistant. It's because we're the ones with an agenda and a plan to get them functional, and they're fine. They just need to keep it simple. We'll get to that in a second. Now, the bard has a unique one. So we've got fire, aim, fire, 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 aim, aim, aim. Here's the bard, okay? And I'm going to do this because this is me. So if it offends you, we can talk later and cry our way through it, okay? All right, here I am. I'm the bard. You've given me a gun. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to fire this. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, stop. Okay, here I go. Okay. I don't know how do I put it? Is it going to hurt? Oh my God, you didn't tell me that. Is it going to hurt? Okay, I'm all right. Okay, stop it. Get out your phone. Put this on Pinterest. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay, oh my God. Are you ready? Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm nervous. Okay, I'm going. Okay, I'm going to do it. Stop it. Don't pressure me. I won't do it. I'll put it down. That's the ready. Because when that curtain goes up, man, they've psyched themselves up for one hell of a performance. I said just a minute ago about the jester. This is the be. All right? Be here now. Be here now. Be here. That's it. If it's more than that, that's on you and you're complicating it. We had this jester therapist. I swear to God, he was one of the most frustrating people we had because he would walk in, he would have these flare bell-bottom jeans, torn, looked like they had been washed, he had patches on his knees, wearing this super long oversized shirt because he's skinny as a rail, just eating tuna sandwiches all the time. And he's got this tight little vest on and this beanie and this long stringy hair. He's got this cup of tea. He's walking around the facility like this. Right on. And you're just like, okay, so we have clients who come in to tour this facility. The kids loved him. He would come out, he'd be like, okay, let's go do our therapy, man. And the kids would run, they'd get their tea, and they'd go sauntering outside. They'd come back an hour later, and you'd be like, hey, what did you do in therapy? And the kid'd be like, I don't know, man. It'd be like, I mean, did you do anything? You know, we just like went out and sat under the tree and just drank tea. And the kid would be so grounded, so soft, so regulated. And you'd walk up to the therapist, you'd be like, how are you going to write notes on sitting under a tree? How are we paying for this client? What if the insurance company denies coverage to send him home? Man, that's bogus. You're like, that's not an answer. And it was so frustrating. But he was getting through. He was grounding the kids. They would act up and he would sit in front of them and meditate. And in 5 minutes, they'd be meditating with him. And God, he was infuriating. So he's the bee. Right? And he got them into their being. Whereas the wizard is the think. So let's think therapeutically for a second. These are the kids, when they come in and they're diagnosed with whatnot, open the DSM with them and say, this is what they told us you were. What do you think? And do analysis with them. Because they will either agree or not agree based on the flaws they see and the solutions they find. And they say, well, there's some other things. I mean, you know, PTSD looks a lot like this. What do you think of this? Well, no, this one fits me more. And they'll do the analysis with you because you're engaging them where they live. Instead of being like, well, where do you feel that? They're like, what are you talking about? They're the ones who'd be like, well, you know, how do you feel about this? Well, I think that when my parents, you know, say things, I don't trust them because they lied to me once. You're like, that's not a feeling. The bards are the ones who feel. Oh my God. You get a bard in your office, you say, how are you feeling today? An hour will go by like that. You could take a nap, they'll keep talking. They will give you every note. They want the drama therapy. They want the dream therapy. They want the symbology. They want an art therapy. They want a sand tray. And they'll do it all. And there will be tears and laughter, and it will be utter up and down. And they'll come out, and they'll go out and do it out in the milieu all over again because they have the energy to keep the story going. Here's what you need to know with your bard clients. Get past the story and dig the storyteller. The story is designed to communicate the emotion at the level that they are feeling it. It doesn't matter whether the story's true. And that's what we immediately go to. I had this bard client, and she was just talking. She gave me a list of stuff, like she did her fourth step list. And there were things there that required a CPS call. And I didn't believe that they had actually happened. I didn't believe that she had done these things. And I sat her down, and I said, I have to call the authorities on this list. And some of the things you have written is going to put your name on a list where you're going to spend the rest of your life introducing yourself to your neighbors. I need the real story. And I get that you saying that about your brother means you feel that you have violated your whole family deeply and permanently. I get that you feel that. But you got to make the story match the truth. And of course the story, the real truth came out, and she was investigated, and the whole family went into the counseling units and the assessment program. And it was a story. It was just a story, but when she told it, I heard her. I got how deeply she was feeling her pain. So with those clients, with the barred clients, it's not about the story, it's about the storyteller. Let the story be a signpost, not the end. And for the warriors, it's the do. These are the ones that can do gestalt. This chair is your father. What do you need to say to your father? I hate you. That's the warrior way. They will get full tilt into that. Okay, and we get a box of clay pigeons. You know what those are that you shoot with a shotgun and we get a box of those, a case of those at a time, and a marker. And they write, I hate math, and they walk outside and they shatter it against the rocks, and they feel that release. That's very much the warrior way because it's about what they're doing. So this is the do. Go out and play catch with a football and your warrior clients. They have to have a mission and a purpose. Now, every single one of the archetypes has what we call the blessing curse. We talked about the wizards first. That was the flaw, right? Everything they see the flaw in first. They don't always harp on it. They just see it. It's natural. They were born that way. It's not bad attitude. It's brilliance. It comes off to us as bad attitude because we're tired of them being so negative about everything. But they're actually saying, this could be better. This could be better, and I could make it better. And when they study something, they master it. They don't just go skateboard every now and then. They master it, and they die trying. So that's their blessing curse, because their life is spent about seeing the flaw in all things, but that also shows them what's not working. And because they have a perfect picture, they know what to do next. Step by step, including their own mental health. For the jester, the flaw is timing. I'm sorry, not the flaw. The blessing curse is timing. Think about it. Go back to the old medieval times where the king is hollering at all the farmers and the townspeople because, things aren't working, and that's when the jester pulls the king's pants down. And everybody laughs and giggles, and the tension is broken, and everybody is reminded in that moment that the king is only human, and he's got crap going on too, and the jester gets his head cut off the next day in public because they had bad timing. But sometimes their timing is so perfect that we actually all do remember we are the center of the universe as individuals, and our universe rotates around us, and we can create it, and it's okay. We're okay. And that's divinity. And so when they're good with timing, we get Steve Martin. We get Robin Williams. We get Jim Carrey. We get Russell Brand, who say the most brilliant things because they've gone beyond jester. They're into medicine now. For the warrior, it's the vow. The blessing curse is the vow. These are the people who say, I will never, or I will always. And that informs their life. I remember when I was really dealing with my own abandonment issues very, very deeply. Pantera came out with a song called 25 Years. And there's this line in the song, you will never be the father I am, the bastard father to 1,000 of the ugly, criticized, unwanted, the ones with fathers just like you. And that line hit like a bard. I heard it. But that was my vow, that I would never, ever, ever again be like my biological father who abandoned me to alcoholism. I will be like the dad who raised me to be a good man. Now, for good or for evil, I'm going to be that man, for good or for worse. And that's where the vow can also get into play, because you could walk up to the warrior with a series of expectations and it goes against their vow, and they won't do it. And it might cost them friends, popularity, whatever. But they won't do it because it goes against the vow. For the bard, it's the gift. The bard always has something to give, always has something to communicate, always has something to offer and add. And they always give it. They will always find a way to communicate and offer support. You can call them at 3 in the morning and say, I decided my girlfriend is, I'm just totally devastated. And they will stay up with you and have to skip the next day of work because they're tired. It's that gift is given at their own expense. What I hear from bard children is, nobody knows who I am. It's like you've spent the last 5 years of your life telling everybody who will listen who you are. But that's the story, right? And remember the bard, they wear makeup, they wear costumes. The story isn't theirs, it's someone else's story. You don't know who these actors, something happens with Kevin Spacey, we find out what kind of person he really is, and we're like, oh, he's the president. No, he's an actor. And he's a jerk, and he's a pedophile, and we're surprised because we think we know these people. We don't. We know the makeup, we know the costume, we know the character. If you have a bard client, you don't know them. Go deeper. Go into the deep symbolism that they can't help but to give you. Okay? They really respond to Jungian. Questions where I am now. We're wrapping around towards the end. Questions of where we are right now. Yes?
How do you help people find what they are?
Well, first is going through this whole type of thing. When helping them find who they are, I'm going to say is second to you beginning to using this to acknowledge where they are and let them expand in that. Rather than saying, I've learned that you're a bard and we need to do this, just start doing this and watch them expand. Right? These are the only ones of the 4 that you actually have to teach what you're doing. Because these are the only ones who will be like, what are you doing? Why are you asking me these questions? What is this DSM? Why did you do that? How come we didn't do that last time? You can say, well, I'm learning this new process about archetypal psychology, and I have discovered that I think you'd be better at analyzing this with me instead of me trying to point out your flaws. Because you want to know why wizards are hate therapy? It's because they already know they suck. They think they suck. They call themselves jerks. And now you're going to hire someone for $160 an hour to tell you you suck? Well, that doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you what's wrong with me, and I'll tell you what's wrong with you, and I'll tell you what's wrong with this marriage. But they don't want someone else telling them. They want to do the work. So let them do their work. With the jester, back off. Make it fun. Make it super, just be in the present moment. You can do the spiritual type of therapies here, but be careful with the jesters because they will substitute spirituality for emotional growth. And those two are very different paths. With the warriors, I say, do that active stuff, the gestalt, the flamenco dancing, heavy metal scream therapy. That belongs here. All right? Find the things that get them engaged with their body through the process. I think some of you know Jeff Jones, the trauma release thing he does where you hold your feet up in the air. Warriors will respond to that. Wizards will hate you and never come see you again. They will do it once and be completely terrified and want to talk about it on the couch for their next 6 sessions. They won't understand and won't care. This is the final piece I want to see. Here's how the brain works, okay? The warrior is chaos. It is chaos inside their head. When I work and I run multiple companies, I own the treatment center. I do the marketing with Jordan, who a lot of you have met. And it's sitting at my desk. In front of me is my big monitor. In front of me is a little laptop. To the left of me is another monitor that I keep positive daily affirmations going all day long. Bob Proctor's voice is in my head. Underneath my computers, I have heavy metal music playing. Out on my right is a gigantic window that has all of nature and the mountains out. I have all that stimulus, I go, okay, now I can focus. ADHD is not that I can't focus. It's that I focus on everything equally. That's why when I'm driving and we're in the middle of a conversation and I'm navigating traffic, I can see the hawk that you were like, what, where? I saw it an hour ago. because it's chaos up here. And that's why they're good at battle and emergency situations like a firefighter or a police officer, is because when bullets fly, and I used to be head of security at St. Joseph's Hospital back in the 90s, and when I was shot at, I watched my life go into slow motion. The Celts used to call that the Anwen. It's when the angels showed up, everything slowed down. I was like, I'm home. So when I listen to that aggressive music and everything's blasting and blaring and Bob Proctor, I'm home. So you can call it chaos and flinch. I need this. With the bard, it's complex. Their brains are complex because remember, they are focused on the emotional aspect. The emotions is the genuine, complexity is genuine feminine energy, which means it is unsolvable. It's not something that has an end, which is why women hate it when their husbands try to fix their problems. It's because that's not what's really going on. What's really going on is complexity, and complexity is not designed to be solved, right? They have a feeling, they have an emotional experience, there's a breakdown, friends group, school, and so they stay up and everybody's a flurry and oh my God, and everybody's talking to each other, it gets resolved and everybody's happy. And we said, and I love him so much, and then I think we're going to start dating. We break up, oh my God, and it just keeps going. And the moment you resolve, like God, we got it done. Oh, we're not done? Okay, we're over here now. And it's complex. It's infinite. It's everlasting life force energy. That's why the wizard is so kerfuffled by it. The wizard is complicated. But like any complication, there's a solution. They will find it. So the wizard is looking for the solution. The bard is looking for the energy. The warrior is looking to exist and resolve chaos. And the jester's thought form, the jester's brain, and this is not an insult, but it will like one, but bear with me. It's simple. Keep it simple, stupid. If you've got a jester in your life, keep it simple. That's your work with the jester. Because simplicity is we are all one. It is all good. That's simple. Any complication to that is on you. Final questions. Yes?
So I'm thinking about how these events exist as both come out of nature and nurture.
Yes.
I'm thinking of like trauma. Can going through a really difficult trauma push someone towards one of these?
You bet. I have not met an adopted child who wasn't in full tilt warrior mode. When we hear adoption, we got a kid in on adoption, they're in warrior. They got a shield up and a sword out. And you're like, I love you. Yeah, that's a threat. Right? They're always ready because they have been betrayed. And that shield is up. Getting them to put the shield down, that first time they break through in therapy, that shield comes right back up the moment they leave the office. Like, I felt so good. I felt seen. I felt experienced. I felt connected. You all suck. I hate you all. And very much the
Remain a warrior? Is that who they are now, their archetype? Or if that's healed, does that go away?
perfect. So again, it's not about healing one and trying to get it to go away, because there are certain times that we need our warrior side, right? Because if you're jogging alone at night and suddenly 3 guys step out of the tree, it's warrior time. You run faster than there, and if they touch you, you strike first, strike last, strike hard, strike fast, kick them when they're down, and get the hell out of there. That's all warrior, right? But the wizard doesn't do that. The wizard wants to think through things. The bard wants to connect this experience. And what the king and the queen know is you got to know which one to call. And that's the work. At Fire Mountain, we know we get all the kids in at jester mode. They all come in at jester mode. And about 2 weeks to 2 months, they're here in warrior mode. Right? They're like, fine, I'm just going to do it. Okay, my parents aren't going to pick me up and bring me home. I'll stay, whatever. And they start doing their schoolwork. Fine, I'll do my assignment. And then all of a sudden, after about 3.5 months, the therapy starts to really take root. The family therapy starts to really happen. There's communication. There's connection. People are feeling, and it's real feeling. Dad, wizard dad, is finally saying, I feel angry. And you're like, yay, oh my God. That's barred phase. Then everybody starts making plans to go home. We contact the school and credits are transferred. We've decided which friends are happening. Behavior contracts and family contracts are signed and created. That's structure, that's plan, that's formulaic. And we have to think our way through that. And then we want the kids to just leave being themselves. So rather than a phase system that's number or color oriented, our phase system is archetype. Schooling matches this, and their phase work matches this. And the goal is to teach them all, because the reason why we're here is because of the one we were using. My drug addiction, it was this vow that was broken, that I broke. I said I would never, and I did. I did it to my own daughter. And I betrayed it. I broke my vow. And so my whole recovery was, I will never, ever again, or I'll die first. Right? And so that leads us, it's all connected, and this is an equilibrium here. That's the king and queen's job. You're a single mom and you wake up and you got the flu, and one of your kids has the flu and the other doesn't, and they got a tuba lesson and soccer after school. You warrior up, because you got to get that kid to school and to tuba and to soccer, and the other kid you got to take care of. And so while you're warrioring up, you got to pull out that bard and connect. And then come, because they didn't get past the ball and soccer, get down on their level, and inside you feel like you're going to barf on them. You move past that and you get up on stage with the kid and you connect and you communicate. And then you decide that you need to save some money, because you and the kids, you need to go to Disneyland and just have fun. Right? So that's the queen. That's the king. That's the space that we're all in. This is your work, is to go, I'm attracted to, jesters are so attractive. Oh my God, they're so charismatic and attractive. So we love, they're just so full of life and they're spontaneous, and then they totally ghost you in the relationship. You know why? Because they were bored. And they have no connection to human emotion, because they're beyond. They're surfing in Costa Rica. Big deal, man. It's not like it was going to go anywhere. My heart, that's the big deal. Oh, this is where you apologize. They don't know. They don't know how to apologize, and they don't know how to apologize. These two will apologize ad nauseum at times. And you can see the next layer of this teaching is to understand that this is more of our higher selves, and this is more of our lower selves. And this is more of one side of our thinking, and this is more of the other side of our thinking. Right? This is the symbolism of this, the techniques we can use. Do this with your employees. Where your employees go, just don't hire jesters. No, I'm kidding. The thing is, these two right here make great entrepreneurs. A wizard and a warrior, they will build a business. Formulaically, or just through pure action and grit. Jesters, when marijuana was legalized, there were like 400 grow ops all over Colorado. All the jesters opened a business. Then April 15th came around the next year, and they're like, yeah, growing weed. What? Texas? Sucks. And they quit. You know how many grow ops shut down April 15th? Okay? And birds will do business, but it's all in consignment. Because they create. And God forbid. Look, when your artist comes to you with their poem, their song, their dance, don't you red pen that. Oh, you spelled that word wrong. Ooh. When they come to you with the poem, you find that line that stands out. Oh, eyes like a sidewalk. Ooh, like that's good. I don't even know what that means. That's amazing. Tell me more about that. Not explain that to me. That sounds like criticism. Tell me more about eyes like a sidewalk. And your whole session will be about eyes like a sidewalk. And that's how they express. And it will have nothing to do, but you will get every emotion they have. Yes? Right. So what I'll tell you is that the journey is towards the sacred or towards the profane. Now, what we know from symbology and literature is that there is no one path up that will create success, right? You can be a warrior who becomes a knight, who becomes a king, but it stops there. Even who is our most famous archetypal king figure in mythology? King Arthur? King Arthur. He's the one, more stories have been written about King Arthur. He failed because he didn't expand out. He went through his knighthood, he became king, but he was still the warrior king. And it was the warrior that's what this is, that this can go up, but it's the balance that creates this. These two encompass the four. Or the journey is down. So no one path leads to healer. The jester will not become the consummate healer. There are even stories in the Bible. Jesus' warrior side goes into the temple. The money changers, money's changing hands. He's flipping over tables and chasing people around with a whip. The Prince of Peace chasing people with a whip, but that's his warrior side. That was that side of him that said, not in my Father's house. I'm so angry. Right? And one of the reasons why the Viking mythology and in old pantheons, why each god or goddess had just a sort of god of wine, goddess of love, this of spring, that of horses, there had to be an all experience that encompassed it all. Right? Odin is not only the god of war, he's also the god of poetry. He's also the consummate jester god, not Loki. Odin is the one who fools around and dresses like women to trick the giants. There has to be an all-encompassing management of the energy, not one path. So has to go around. You have to manage your energies. Consciously, that's what makes us king and queen. Because if we're not doing it consciously, we'll never have a successful realm. And that's what we're seeing with the kids. They're doing things unconsciously. Right here is the line of consciousness. Okay, here's how I want to end. If there is anybody, I need to know who you know that would make a great guest for the podcast. Beyond Risk and Back, I started a year ago. I'm coming up on the 100th episode. #1 parenting podcast in Colorado, #1 in Australia, 3 in Canada, 3 in the UK. It's hit, and I'm riding this wave. And Brandon Novak, if any of you know who that is, I know, I see that look when I say the name. He was one of the guys from Jackass. He was the professional skater, Tony Hawk's buddy. He's my 100th episode, 13 rehabs, okay? I'm just getting, and I need to get all the information that we have collectively into the hands of parents so they can avoid having to send their kids to facilities like mine, like yours. We got into this job to save lives, and I have found a world platform to do so. If you want to be a guest, email me. Let's do a show, whatever you're passionate about that's going to help a parent help their family. If you know someone, please give me the name. It's hitting. I want to ride this 15 minutes as long as I can. So that's #1. #2, come see us at Fire Mountain. Come see what we build up there. Come see how we've taken the basis of this in kids' camps and turned it into recovery. If you want to set up a tour, talk with Jordan. Come visit and eat lunch. We just got a new chef. Oh my God. He has taken the whole thing to a whole nother, what we always dreamed about in our wizard brain but never thought we could achieve, he's achieved it. Presentation of the food, fruit and vegetable waters. The kids are like, would you like more cucumber water? And you're just like, that kid was throwing rocks at his mom on Thursday. It's amazing. So please come up for a tour and see what we're doing. Listen to the podcast, share, give the cards. I gave you 2 cards, and if you want a podcast sticker because you're awesome and want to put it somewhere, that'd be great for me. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the time. Thanks everybody on Facebook. And thanks for live streaming this out there. That's awesome. Thanks you guys.